वीजा में ये सेशन ਅਸੀਂ ਰੱਖਾਂਗੇ
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are once again honored to welcome back a dynamic educator, mentor, and motivator, Engineer Malik Shujat Ali Khan. With 11 years of international teaching experience in OA level subjects and an academic background that includes electrical engineering and an MBA, Engineer Shujat is not just a teacher. He is a career guide who brings both classroom knowledge and real world relevance into every session. His passion for helping students find clarity, structure, and confidence in their academic journey is unmatched. Today, he takes us into the world of O level business studies, breaking it down in a way that's practical, clear, and easy to grasp. And the webinar agenda includes opening remarks, why business studies is essential in today's world, and the overview of the syllabus, which includes a breakdown of 6 key sections, which includes understanding business activities, people in business, marketing, operation management, financial information and decision, and external influence on business, and tips on answering case question, time management, exam strategies, live question answer session. If you have any question, you can comment, and we can share that with you, and also final motivation takeaway. So let's welcome our respected guest, Engineer Malik Shadali Khan. Malik Shadali Khan, thank you very much, and over to you, please.
we thank you very much Rizam. Okay, the agenda for our today's discussion, that is going to be the business studies. What we'll be doing in this session, will give you the brief introduction about the business studies and what is the business studies of the O levels. What are the topics? What is the paper pattern? What are the different papers? What is the weightage of each paper? And what are the assessment objectives? How you will be assessed in the business studies paper O levels. Let me tell you one thing, that this is a very, very interesting subject, and I recommend that everybody doing in the O levels, if they are going for that business stream, then definitely they will be taking accounting, business studies, and economics. But if somebody is going even for the sciences, even then I will recommend that they should take business studies as an optional subject or an extra subject, because this subject is going to be a very, very beneficial. This will just give you about the general understanding of the business activity, which I believe that every student and every Pakistani and every individual should have. Okay, now let's jump into this business studies. What is going to be the paper pattern? What is going to be the weightage? So, without wasting any more time, let's get into it. So, I hope now the screen is shared. Let me give you the assessment overview of this business studies paper. So now everything is clear. Is the screen, everybody can see it properly?
Yes, yes, it's clear and screen is visible.
Okay. Now, what is going to be the overview of the assessment? This all candidates have to take the two components, and what the grading system they'll be eligible from A star to E grade they can get. Okay, we have got one paper one, another one is paper two. Now the paper one is going duration is going to be 1 hour 30 minutes, and paper two duration is again going to be 1 hour 30 minutes. You can see that here it's going to be the paper one will be related to short answers and data response, and that weightage will be 50%, while the paper two, it will be the case study, whose again the percentage weightage should be the 50%. It's 80 marks each paper. So the four questions requiring a mixture of short answers, structured data responses. There will be the four questions, candidate answer all questions, and it will be externally assessed. And similarly for the paper two, four questions based on the case study provided as an insert with the paper. So candidate answer all questions will be externally assessed. So what going to be the assessment objectives here? One is going to be the AO1, that is going to be the assessment objective. The first assessment objective will be the knowledge and understanding. Let's demonstrate the knowledge and understanding of facts, terms, concepts, conventions, theories, and techniques commonly applied to or used as part of business behavior. So this is going to be our first assessment objective. Then moving on to the second assessment objective is going to be the application. You have to apply the knowledge and understanding of facts, terms, and concepts, and conventions, theories, and techniques. Third will be assessment objective. You have to do the analysis, because the first and second maybe some sort of a memorization, the definition, things will be coming into play. But now here to do the analysis. It all depends on your understanding. You have to distinguish between the evidence and opinion in a business context. And now you have to order, analyze, and interpret information in narrative, numerical, and graphical forms using the appropriate techniques. So this is the learning objective third, and then there's going to be the fourth. That will involve a lot of your creativity. And the good thing is, till the time you're applying your knowledge correctly, all answers are correct. No answer is going to be the wrong. If you have got the better understanding, you agree, that's also correct. You don't agree, that's also correct. But you must have a proper logic and understanding why you agree and why you disagree. If you have the proper understanding, give the proper reason of your of your agreeing or not agreeing, both answers will be correct. And now present and then moving on to the fourth assessment objective, that will be the evaluation. That the present reasoned explanations, develop arguments, understanding implications, and draw inferences and make judgments, recommendation, and decisions. So let me tell you, all judgment, recommendation, and decisions will be correct till the time you have got a proper justification and logic for that. So you can agree, you cannot agree, you may disagree, but you must have a proper reason for that. Okay. Now moving for the weightage of the assessment. Weighting for the assessment, the approximate weightage allocated to each of the assessment objectives are summarized below. Now you can see that what are going to be the assessment objective. We've discussed about the first assessment objective, second, third, fourth. Now the first one is knowledge and understanding weightage will be in the O level, that will be 40%. Then we talk about what is going to be the application, that is going to be the 20%. What is going to be the analysis, that another 25%. And what about the evaluation, that is 15%. And if you combine all these four, what you will get, that is going to be the 100%. Now moving on to the assessment objectives as a percentage of each component. Now look at the paper one and paper two. What is going to be the assessment objective? Knowledge and understanding. It's going to be weightage going to be 50% paper one and 50%, 30% paper two. So what's going to be the application? That is 20% in paper one and 20% paper two. Analysis again 20% paper one, but 30% in paper two. And the evaluation will be the 10% in paper one and 20% in paper two. So total is going to be the 100%. As I mentioned earlier, that there will be two papers and 80 marks each, and overall 50% is weightage of the paper one and 50% weightage two. Now we have further breakdown how it's going to be weighting components, because these are the four components I mentioned: the assessment objective one, two, three, four, knowledge and understanding, and then application and analysis and evaluation. These things are very, very going to be important. Now let's talk about the detail of the assessment paper one. Let's move on to the paper one, short answer and data responses. So it's going to be the written paper, 1 hour, 30 minutes, and it's going to be the 80 marks. Question paper comprises four questions requiring a mixture of short answers and structured data responses. The paper assesses content drawn from the entire syllabus. Each question is introduced by stimulus material. For some questions, candidates will need to refer to the stimulus material in their answers, and the stimulus material may include tables and the graphs and images. So candidates are supposed to answer all questions. There's no choice system, no choice-based paper. It will be all questions you have to answer. And then candidates should be aware of the marks for each part question. This is something very, very important. Before answering each question, you must know what are the marks. Let's suppose it's 8 marks answer, you can't answer it in 2 lines. So you need to first see how many marks are there for each question. Once you are doing all these sessions in detail, then we're discussing about how to attempt that 8 mark question and how to attempt the question according to their marks. These are printed on the question paper. Candidates should use them as guide to the amount of detail and length of response expected, and to help them manage their time effectively. So this is something very, very important. You have to see that what are the marks for each question. Then you have to also keep your overall time in your mind, and then you have to make sure that don't have to exceed the time limit for each question. Nobody will be asking about the time limit. This is the time limit you have to keep in your mind for your own self. And this thing can, I think, can only come from excessive practice again, from doing the past papers. And we're going to have a lot of sessions. We're going to be practicing the past paper and telling you how much time we have to give for each question. So time management is going to play a very, very crucial role in this paper. So candidates write their answers on the question paper. So the paper says the following assessment objective. What are the assessment objectives? Now quickly see the assessment objectives. Let's move on to number one. That's going to be that knowledge and understanding, the application, analysis, and the evaluation. So these are the four assessment objectives you have to keep in mind. So that was all about the paper one. Let's quickly move on to paper two. As I mentioned earlier, the paper two is going to be totally, it's going to be the case study based. So in the paper one, you have to read the chapters very thoroughly. You must be knowing what are the terminologies, what are their basic logic. And in the paper two, you will not be asked about definitions or the main points or something like that. Now, proper case study, a practical situation will be given, and you have to apply all that knowledge. As I mentioned at the very start, that the paper two again it will be 1 hour 30 minutes and 80 marks. 50% will be the weightage. So again, I think if the students should plan it little bit sensibly to getting an A or you moving to A star, that's not too difficult in business studies. But you need to be a bit smart, a bit intelligent, and of course, hardworking as well. If all these things combine, so A star getting is not a difficult task in business studies. So, in your interest, I hope so. We'll be covering this syllabus in a very, very interesting manner, giving some of the practical examples. We'll be covering the case studies, and we'll try to make this business studies as much as effective and interesting for all of our students. So the question paper, the question paper comprising four questions based on case studies provided as an insert with the paper. The case study includes appendices with the data presented in the variety of forms such as tables and the graphs and newspaper extracts and advertisements. The paper assesses content drawn from the entire syllabus. The candidate have to answer all questions. The candidate should be aware of the marks for each question. These are printed on the question. So again, the marks is very important. And I think once you've done the lot of practice, you know exactly which question is fitting in which section and what marks it will be. So it will not be any secret. You will knowing all these things in advance, so you can practice very well and mentally be ready that this section and this particular question will be of this marks, and to this extent, I have to give the time to this question and I have to write to this much, depending on the marks. So the paper consists content drawn from the entire syllabus. So it's not paper two. These chapters are included in paper two. It will be from the entire syllabus. But even then, there are some tips and tricks with our experience to telling you that these chapters are more related to paper one or paper two. So we're discussing all these things later on as well. So candidates should be aware of the marks for each part question. They are printed on the question paper, should use them as a guide to the amount of detail and length response. So that is very important. You must know how many marks are of this question. So then you can decide how much time and how much I have to write for that question. So again, these are the four assessment objectives. AO assessment objective 1, 2, 3, 4, that is knowledge, understanding, and application analysis and evaluation. So this was all about the paper. Now, quickly give you the brief introduction of our syllabus as well, that what will be our syllabus. So, if you talk about our syllabus, let me introduce you about our syllabus, and our entire syllabus will be covered, will be covering the six sections. Let's move on to our first section that will be related to the understanding business activity. So what is going to be the business activity? That we're covering about almost the five chapters in this section number one, understanding the business activity, that what is the business activity, how we classify the business, and what are the enterprise, business growth and size. So what are the types of business organizations and what are the business objective and stakeholders? By the way, who are the stakeholders in any business? What are their objectives? So we're discussing all about this thing in the section number one. Then the section number, moving on to section number two, that will be the people in business. That is more related to the human resource. As we know that human resource is going to be a very, very key and very important. So how to keep the employees motivated, what is going to be the organization and what is its management. Then we talk about the recruitment, selection and training of employees. This is something very, very important that what is the difference between recruitment selection, what are the different steps involved when we have to hire the manpower for any business. And the most important thing is, I believe, that training of the employees, because the biggest asset of any organization, that is their human resource, that actually give them the advantage over their the other companies which are competing them. Then we talk about the internal and external communication, how the communication is done in any organization, how it's done internally and how it is done externally, what are the different ways, what are the uh, different going to be the methodologies, and what are the different routes in any particular organization, how to go from right from the bottom to the top, or similarly from the top to the bottom. Then we're moving on to the marketing. As you know, the marketing is a very important today in digital world. So, what are the basic rules of marketing whenever there's any competition? How to win a customer? Why a customer should how you can change the mind of the customer, how you can convince your customer to come to your business and not going towards your the competitors. So there's a marketing competition, the customer, what's going to be the market research? That is something very, very important before launching any business. The market research is very important. Even when your business is in boom, and even you are in the middle of the business, so market research will always play a very, very crucial role to give you a cutting advantage. Then we're talking about the four P's of the marketing, very important. That is about the product we'll discuss in detail. What should be your price, place, promotion. These all four P's of marketing, we'll see it one by one in detail. And then moving on to technology and the marketing mix. What is going to be the marketing strategy? Then moving on to the operations management, what is going to be the production of goods and services. But first of all, try to understand what are the goods and what are the services. Then what is going to be the cost, scale of production, and what is going to be the break-even analysis. So we'll do the analysis. What is actually a break-even? What is the analysis of break-even? How any business can achieve their break-even? Then we're achieving the quality production, and then we'll discuss about the location decisions. Because as we mentioned in the four P's, the one is the product, price, place. So place is something very important. Even when you are placing anything, any sellable item, even in any shop or any mall, where you place it, that's very important. Where you will place it, open that new shop or mall, that's location also going to very important. We'll discussing about lot about this one. And then finally we move on to the section number 5, that will be financial information and financial decision. Now all those students who are completely in their business all got these business three subjects. One is related to the business studies, then we have got the economics and accounting. So they will not be having any problem here in this one. But I think the students who are having only a business studies may find this section a bit tricky, but we'll try to make it as simple as we can. What is the business finance? What are the needs and resources? How the cash flow, forecasting, working capital? So this is where there will be an advantage for the students coming with an accounting background, because they will be knowing these things in advance, especially someone who is just taking the business studies in O level. They need to work bit hard in this section. What are the income statement? What are the statements of financial position, analysis of accounts? So accounting students will find this section a bit easy, and whereas the other students will may find this a bit tricky, but we try to make it as interesting and as simple as we can. And finally, the last but not the least, it's going to be the external influences on any issues, on any business activity. What are the economic issues? What are the economic issues of country? Let's suppose we're talking about nowadays the situation in Pakistan. Let's suppose it's not to the financially or economically the situation not stable. So definitely every business will get a hit and every business will be affected for that. This is known as the external influences on any business activity. And similarly, what's going on inside the company, that will everything will come into the internal influence on business activity. So what are the environmental and ethical issues? What are the business and the international economy? What is the situation? Though that will also play a role to some extent with external influence on business activity. And then we're going to discussing about some case studies And in fact, the case study we're discussing at the end of the every section, because our paper two, as I mentioned earlier, they're totally based on the case studies. Because paper two, again, paper one is 50%, paper two is 50%, paper two 50% is entirely that is about the case study based. But let me tell you the one trick, that you only be able to attempt those case studies well if you have got a theoretical knowledge, understanding of the things very well. So there's no actually mark in paper two for theoretical knowledge or definitions or like that, but you must have a knowledge. If you have the proper understanding of the things, then you will only be able to attempt your paper two very well. So this was the brief introduction about the paper one and paper two of the O-level business studies. And once we're gonna start our O-level business studies, we're starting with the section wise, chapter wise. Maybe earlier we think which chapters are more important for every section, from where the question used to come, and we'll be discussing about from the past papers. So there will be some chapters to whom we'll be giving more time. There will be some chapters which we will just try to rush through them, let you know these are the basic things, and you must know them, keep in your mind, prepare them. So again, depending on our past experience, we will feel which chapter is more important. We will giving it a more time. Otherwise, I will try to cover all these chapters fully, and you must be fully aware and try to give you as much as understanding as possible for us in this entire syllabus. So that is it. In our inshallah next session, we will be starting it right from the understanding the business activity, that what is the business activity, then moving on to the HR, then moving on to the marketing, then the operations management, then we will see about the financial information. Last but not least, that will be the external influences on business issues. And that is it. I hope so. You will, you got that. Ji,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Malak Shahzad Khan Sahab, for another informative and impactful session. And your breakdown of the entire business studies syllabus, along with your insights into paper strategy and real world application, has added immense value for our students. We are truly grateful for your time, energy, and your continued commitment to education and students' growth. Again, thank you very much. And